Okay, this is a quick breakdown of what's going on in the news. If you take a look first at June 26th, you'll notice there was a couple that lived in a $19 million home, and they saw a 1909 house that did not have historic value protection, so they preferred to knock it down in order so they could have an improved view. I thought that was kind of special. So interesting. I mean, most people wouldn't do that. Then you take a look at the next piece of news from June 2nd, and you see how Romney has a fortune that is still near about the $250 million mark. And it kind of makes you wonder, do all rich people think this selfishly? Because if so, I don't think I'd want to vote for him. Anyhow, moving on. Thursday, June 28th, we have the Colorado burning. That's very sad and unfortunate, very tragic things going on over there. Then I take a look at the next piece, which would be June 28th, same newspaper. We have the heat wave. 1,011 records fall in the nation in 1 week. So I guess climate change is a reality that we need to start really paying attention to. On that very same page, it says Debby's remnants, destruction. And it's interesting how one of the quotes from that article, "There's more water that anybody, no matter how old they are, has ever remembered seeing." Wakulla County Commission Chairman Alan Brock said, "It's not just people on the river, it's neighborhoods. It's places that have never been flooded." And I still have a friend that is totally not believing that there's such a thing as climate change and that global warming can't be causing all these problems. But isn't it interesting, even in 5th grade science, they teach us that you have major, like greater heating in certain spots, then you'll have greater rainfall in other areas. So you've got Colorado that's burning up and getting scorched, but near Florida you've got flooding and hurricanes, increased hurricanes. And so finally, Exxon on June 28th's newspaper, Exxon CEO acknowledges warming and says the worry over the issue is exaggerated. So this is ExxonMobil CEO Rex Tillerson, another rich guy who seems to not really care about anybody and thinks in a very small picture. And he's thinking to himself, hey, people were meant to adapt. We can adapt. It's an engineering problem. This isn't a person. This isn't a people problem. This is solvable. Well, first of all, I'll give him credit for the fact that he's finally acknowledging that climate change is a problem, because most of these energy guys have always been saying that, oh, there's no problem at all. It's just a bunch of crazy scientists that don't really know what's going on. So what does Rex Tillerson say instead? He acknowledged that burning fossil fuels is warming the planet, but said society will be able to adapt. The risks of oil and gas drilling are well understood and can be mitigated, and dependence on other nations for oil is not a concern as long as access to supply is certain, he said. So, Tillerson blamed a public that is illiterate in science and math, a lazy press and advocacy groups that manufacture fear for energy misconceptions in a speech at the Council on Foreign Relations. This is very interesting. I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to keep moving on here. I mean, if you just read the newspaper, you'd know it's rising and climate is changing. It's kind of obvious. So now finally he has to say, okay, it's changing. But he questioned the ability of climate models to predict the magnitude of impact. Now, come on now. Why question it? You're going to keep on sowing the seeds of confusion and making it seem like it's nebulous, so people don't get a handle on it. So he's just putting PR spin on it and trying to get people just more confused and more putting it on the back shelf. And he's trying to hold off for as long as possible. So he said that people would be able to adapt to rising sea levels and changing climates that may force agricultural production to shift. We have spent our entire existence adapting. We'll adapt, he said. It's an engineering problem, and there will be an engineering solution. Really? That's very small picture. And how do these guys get to become CEOs of major companies? Well, for one thing, you don't have to be a big picture thinker, and in fact, it hurts you if you're a big picture thinker if you are in the head of a company. And I'm saying this because, Mitt Romney was also the head of a company. That doesn't mean he's a big picture thinker. That just means he's very good at doing one thing, running a business that is very specific, that is trying to meet the needs of a specific clientele. Okay, that's what Tillerson is, that's what Romney is. I don't see them being sterling in their ability to manage the country. I think they are sterling in the ability to think small and act upon that small thought, and act very well at that small thought. Now, big picture thinking requires unselfishness. And I don't think these guys got it, unfortunately. So, moving on. Andrew Weaver, chairman of climate modeling and analysis at the University of Victoria in Canada, disagreed, obviously, because he's a real scientist, with Tillerson's characterization of climate modeling. He said it can give a good sense of the type of climate changes that are likely, and he said adapting to those changes will be more difficult and disruptive than Tillerson seems to be acknowledging. Now, maybe he's really believing that it's not a big deal, but what about the farmer that the rainfall has moved north, but he owns land that is in an area of drought? Is he supposed to then start farming cactus, because cactus is a desert type of food, and now people are going to adapt and now eat much more cactus plant than they used to, because they're not going to be able to grow regular vegetables in an area that does not have enough water. That's just obvious. How about the people that live on the coast? I mean, what? They're, okay, that's our property, but it's an engineering idea for me to move my house and my property and my title of my house to higher ground. And that's okay for Tillerson, of course, because he's got tons and tons of money. Again, he's thinking very, very small picture. He's thinking of himself. He'll be okay, but not everybody else will. What about the people in Africa who now, because the equator has increased in temperature, that it's uninhabitable? Okay, all those people in Africa will find a new continent. It's okay. It's an engineering thing. Let's just build bigger boats or build more boats or just move them somewhere. It's okay. We'll move. Why don't we move them to Tillerson's backyard? Or, all these rich people who seem to have way too much land, like the couple that destroyed their $4 million or the $4 million home. They bought it specifically to destroy it just so they could plant some trees on there and go ahead and have a unobstructed view to the landscape. Now, that's very selfish, very self-serving view, and Tillerson seems to have that in spades. Moving on, I like the way in June 1st we had Romney stealth stop at Solyndra. Interesting. We're taking a look at Solyndra here, and we're kind of wondering, why is it bad that the Obama administration really wanted to invest in green tech? Really invest in the environment. Isn't that a good thing? It seems like it would make sense to invest in solar technology because of the atmosphere getting hotter, and all those kind of things. Is like you're gonna have a lot more sunlight or whatever, or heat energy come in. That we could take advantage of that, I would think. But not all businesses are run properly, and Solyndra had a bad management. Okay, maybe they had bad management, and so they overextended themselves on the architectural front, obviously, from the beautiful building that's a waste of money. But anyhow, that's not really Obama's fault. And really, what's $535 million of Solyndra loans versus the $805 billion we spent on the Iraq War that Bush put us in? I mean, that's like it's a minor amount, but yet they make a big deal about something that's a lot more minor than he is trying to paint the picture of. Okay, so Romney, please step out of the Tri-City area. We don't need you up in this business. Okay, so finally, Wednesday, May 30th, Romney's lies are growing bigger and more blatant. Okay. Finally, this one, Romney's lies growing bigger and more blatant. As you can see here, we've got a quote that says, since President Obama assumed office 3 years ago, federal spending has accelerated at a pace without precedent in recent history, Romney asserts on his campaign website. But this is utterly false. The truth is that spending has slowed markedly under Obama. Basically, what happened was spending has increased at a yearly rate of only 1.4% during Obama's tenure. In Bush's first term, by contrast, federal spending increased at an annual rate of 7.3%. In his second term, the annual rise averaged 8.1%. So it seems like the Democrats are spending less. They have increased spending even less than other presidents have. Another thing that Romney keeps insisting is that Obama went around the Middle East and apologized for America. He said this in March. You know, instead of apologizing for America, he should have stood up and said that as the President of the United States, we all take credit for the greatness of this country. And Eugene Robinson, the person who wrote the article, said, that's 2 lies for the price of 1. Obama did not, in fact, go around the Middle East or anywhere else apologizing for America, and he did, on many occasions, trumpet American greatness and exceptionalism. Now, you guys can go ahead and take a look at that article on your own. But one thing that he said is that Obama went on to say he was enormously proud of my country and its role in history and in the world. So I wonder where Romney's saying that Obama goes and grovels around. I mean, this just, you don't need to lie about it and put people in a bad situation. So, thank you for listening.